I know this whole situation sounds stupid, but bear with me. I, female 25, am hosting Christmas with my husband 27 this year. My parents split up when I was around 5 years old. My dad is pretty much out of the picture. When I was a teen, my mum, 53, met my stepdad, Tom, 61. They met online and got married after only knowing each other for 3 months. Teenage angst was probably at play, but I never really liked Tom, and at the time I thought my mom was ridiculous for marrying someone she only knew for such a short period. Anyway, a few days ago my mom invited me over. I helped her put away some shopping when I got there. There were some small bottles of Pepsi that I forgot to put in the fridge, so they were just sitting on the counter. A couple of hours later, Tom gets home from work and sees the Pepsi bottles on the counter, and he starts flipping out. He goes on about how he can't drink room temperature Pepsi and that it should be in the fridge. I told him it was me and that I just forgot to put them in the fridge and apologized. That wasn't good enough, and Tom said it was stupid not to put them in the fridge and that I had no common sense. I sarcastically told him that this was a disaster, and however will he recover from this? Tom called me a useless witch. I decided just to leave, and later I texted my mum and Tom and told them that unless he genuinely apologizes for calling me a witch and being so rude to me over Pepsi bottles, Tom's not invited to Christmas anymore. My mom sends me paragraph after paragraph making excuses for Tom and saying that I'm being unfair. She said I'm making her choose between Tom and me and that I was unfairly putting her in a difficult position, and she accused me of punishing her for a situation she didn't cause. I told her I didn't care and that no apology meant no invite for Tom and that I didn't want him attending if he couldn't apologize for his actions. She said I'm being petty and acting like a child with birthday party invites and said I'm being a Scrooge. She keeps sending me pictures of Scrooge and the Grinch and saying, "That's you." I don't know if I'm being petty or going too far. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Nope, hold the line. Tom has probably never apologized for anything in his life. It might be a good exercise for him. Your mom is blaming the wrong person. Understandably, you don't want him at your house after that. Mom blames OP because it's safer than holding her husband accountable for his actions. She knows her husband will never take responsibility, but OP might be coerced into stopping rocking the boat. She's blaming the only person that doesn't bring up uncomfortable feelings about her own life and choices, and she likely knows blaming OP will have limited ramifications for her. I'd also not be surprised if this is part of a trend of blaming OP so she doesn't have to take responsibility. I think you're absolutely correct. Also, when you're texting someone multiple pictures of the Grinch, you don't get to call other people immature. OP, send her pictures of doormats until she gets the point. I tell your mother that her husband is no longer welcome at your house, whether he apologizes or not. Calling someone a witch over such a small matter isn't an accident. Whether he apologizes or not, you don't want him around. This man is in his 60s. He needs to grow up. Imagine what Tom says to your mom when she does something wrong when no one else is around. If my boyfriend called my daughter a useless witch, especially over something ridiculous such as the placement of Pepsi bottles, he'd be out the door. I wouldn't be taking his side. Mom is pathetic for sticking up for her abusive husband and being so juvenile. Honestly, if your mom can't understand why this is inappropriate and that you deserve to be able to set boundaries, then perhaps she should stay home too. My girlfriend and I are expecting. We don't live together, but we're waiting till the baby's born to figure out our living arrangements. She's 4 months pregnant. She cannot tolerate certain smells, and my roommate tends to cook some meals with a smell that causes her to be nauseous. That would result in her throwing up and getting sick. I tried to speak to him about it, but he got pretty defensive, saying he has a specific diet that he sticks to and didn't see how this was wrong. I cleared things up, saying there was nothing wrong with what he was doing, but asked him just not to cook those specific meals that had a smell that triggered my girlfriend's nausea. He got upset and ranted about how he's a resident, unlike my girlfriend, who doesn't live here, and said that he couldn't even consider my request since she's there almost 4 days a week and stays till 10 p.m. I tried to discuss it with him and maybe figure out a compromise, but he bluntly told me he didn't owe my girlfriend or me any accommodations or compromises. I thought that was unnecessarily rude and selfish of him. He told me to deal with it or tell her not to come, which was offensive because she's my partner and she's pregnant, and I need to make sure she's okay by seeing her weekly. He's avoiding me right now. Am I the idiot? I figured it wouldn't be such a huge deal since it wasn't like I was telling him to stop cooking at all, just when my girlfriend was over. Edit, I can't go to her place because she's currently living with her parents and I'm not on good terms with them. Call me crazy, but I would say that after the baby is born is the absolute worst imaginable time to move house. What are you doing? We're waiting till the baby is born to figure out living arrangements? No, you have a baby coming. You need to figure out where you all will live before it gets here. You are the idiot, OP. You can't ban your roommate from cooking his normal meals. Your girlfriend doesn't have to visit you for most of the week. You can go to her place. Or you can hang in your room if your roommate is cooking something she can't handle. But you don't get to make your roommate's life revolve around your baby. He didn't agree to live with a pregnant woman. I'm going to be cynical and say that the plan is, oh no, the baby's here and we have no time or funds to house search, so girlfriend and baby are moving in here now. You know, temporarily. And then the roommate will be expected to help out, subsidize in some fashion, even if it's just unfairly eating a rise in utilities or finding everything in the apartment reoriented to the baby's needs. And let's be honest, the roommate probably knows that figuring out living arrangements after the baby is born most likely means he's going to be living with the baby, which he didn't sign up for. The roommate is probably already angry that another person is living there half the time and not contributing, and now they're making demands on what he can and can't cook when he's footing half the bills. That is so true. What are they thinking? That needs to be sorted out ASAP. OP, then marry her and move into your own place. You can't though, can you? I'll bet my butt that the two of you are dead broke. And your poor kid. You are the idiot for everything. My husband is one of 3 siblings who usually rotate who hosts Christmas. It's usually the same people who go every year, give or take a few. They are my husband and I with our 2 kids, his sister and husband with their 3 kids, his younger brother and his daughter, his mom and dad, grandma, usually an aunt and uncle, and maybe a cousin or 2. Not to mention his brother-in-law's parents, and perhaps a sibling comes too. I really don't want to sound like I'm this kind of person because I don't judge anybody on their house size or their wealth, but the issue is that his sister's house is so damn tiny, it's uncomfortable for everyone there. It isn't even an individual house, but half of a duplex type. There'll be about 20 people coming this year, and I just think it's ridiculous for her to insist on hosting. They also have a large Great Dane that is on top of everyone. Well, actually, everyone is on top of everyone. I kid you not that half of the guests must sit on the living room floor to eat. Usually, the older relatives sit at the 4-person dining table, a few sit on the couch, and the rest of us are standing or sitting on the floor with our plates of food. Oh, and the last big kicker is that there's only one bathroom that constantly smells. My kids always complain about going to this aunt's house because of the reasons I listed, so I'm siding with them, and I said I would talk to Dad about us volunteering to host. We don't live in a mansion, but we can comfortably fit all the guests, and we have more than one bathroom. My husband doesn't want to because he says it will hurt his sister's feelings, and she already knows how poor they are, and this would be rubbing it in her face. I don't think that should be the case. She should want the family to be comfortable. I'm sure she must know we don't love sitting on the floor in that cramped house. I'm not sure if I sound like a spoiled witch right now or if I'm right. You are the idiot. Instead of dismissing your sister-in-law as inadequate to host, why don't you offer to bring over a folding table and some chairs? You can help to make her house more comfortable. You could also just not go. That way, everyone wins. No one is really an idiot here. You have valid points. His sister's place sounds like a really bad place to host 20 people for a holiday get-together. But your husband is probably also right. His sister's feelings would be hurt by it. Like a lot of poor people, she's probably proud of what little she does have and prickly about what she feels is charity. It's a tricky situation to navigate. Like a lot of poor people, isn't everyone proud of what they've earned? You. This comment gives a snobbery vibe. I would rather eat a modest meal in a less than ideal location with people of generosity and goodwill than the finest of meals with snobs. If the OP actually cared, she'd be looking to help, not look down her nose at the poor relatives. This isn't about shaming someone for having less than you. It's about ensuring everyone actually has a nice time. Having enough chairs for your guests is like the bare minimum requirement for hosting something like this. I would be mortified if my adult guests ate Christmas dinner on the floor. The lack of awareness some folks have will always blow me away. Not the idiot. You're not judging your sister-in-law for her being poor. This is a space issue. 20 plus people shouldn't be strong-armed into putting up with all of that to spare your sister-in-law's feelings, especially when viable alternatives exist. I'm a father of a 21-year-old son who originally came home for winter break from uni. A couple of days ago, when he was in his room and we were in the adjacent master bedroom organising our finances, we heard him talking quite audibly and forcefully, telling his therapist about all the bad things we've done over the years that led him to get therapy, and once we heard that, my wife said it was confidential and we can't listen, so we tuned out. Later that evening at dinner, I told my son that I thought it would be best if he was neutral with his therapist so that they could come to a judgment regarding all sides of an issue, and that he should include more of the good things we've done for him so that things aren't as one-sided and that he can get the best treatment he needs. He then looked up at me and proceeded to give me an earful about how I do not comment on his private affairs, that he handles his healthcare however he wants, that I should be ashamed of myself for having the audacity to overstep a boundary like that and listen in on his session. And I tried to tell him that we genuinely didn't know it was a therapy session, and when we did, my wife told me that it's confidential and private, and tuned out. But he just barked, "If you would have just kept your mouth shut, then none of this would have happened." I had to bark back that he doesn't curse at us and he needs to respect us because we are his parents who have helped him get where he is today, to which he just picked up his bowl and left the dinner table, going to his room. I tried to later knock on his door and say sorry, but we didn't get a response. The next morning I got a text from my son saying that he was moving back to his dorm, that he could expect us not to celebrate Christmas with him and that he was upset. I tried to explain, but he again didn't respond. And now my wife is angry with me and upset that I said something that could ruin Christmas if I don't make it up to him, and it's eating away at me. The "we helped you get where you are" was pretty ironic, considering he's in therapy. You are the idiot. If you don't like how he's portraying you to his therapist, try being a better parent. I call therapy my pricey crying hours. My therapist has never offered a judgment or a practical solution. All he does is ask questions that allow me to get insights into what situations I struggle with and why. Understanding the reasons behind my issues makes it easier to cope. OP, you don't understand how therapy works. Your son doesn't need to be neutral, he needs to talk about whatever's on his mind. Unfortunately, he's holding on to a lot of resentment towards you. Whether you agree with it or not, it's his perception that you've done something that's caused him to feel this way. He needs a safe, confidential space to work through this. It's not the therapist's job to make a judgment about who's right or wrong, but to help your son process his feelings and be able to express them healthily. You are the idiot, not for inadvertently overhearing part of a confidential call, but for inserting your unwanted, uneducated opinion about it. Man, my mom hated that when I went to therapy because she said, "They just find a way to blame your parents." I get that she feels defensive, but also it's not about her. Therapy is about helping your son sort out and cope with his emotions and trauma. Your concern about losing face is both petty and completely inappropriate. I, 35 female, am going to be on call over the holidays, and I agreed to do so months ago since I don't celebrate Christmas. Before taking this on, I consulted my wife, 32, and while she didn't love it, she agreed. Her family, who have been absent from her life for the past 10 years since she decided to marry a woman, have contacted her through her cousin to invite us over for the holidays. I've never met them. The invite came through her mother. Unfortunately, her father has been diagnosed with lung cancer and is currently in very bad shape since he had a stroke recently. My wife is rather keen to take this opportunity to see her family and father in what they've told her is the final weeks of his life. She really wanted me to accompany her, but I'm a neurologist and I'm going to be on call a lot, so there's no way I can do that. She wants to take our kids, a young male child and a female kindergartner, with her so they can meet her parents and reconcile over this whole issue. I'm concerned the environment around her parents' house is the same toxic one that she described before and can potentially hurt our kids, so I told her that while I respect her wishes to see her father, I don't think kids should be there, at least not right now. Maybe after she had a chance to see them and determine if they're accepting enough of our family, then maybe bring our kids into the picture. She got pretty mad and teary-eyed and said I'm being unnecessarily pessimistic about this and that they wouldn't even invite her if they wanted to behave like before and that I should have some faith and stop acting like this. She said she expected me to be there with her, but I'm suffocating myself with my job. She currently has set her mind that she and the kids are leaving together. I'm trying to at least talk to her and be by her side at this difficult time. She's basically too angry at me and won't talk, which is a very rare occurrence in our marriage. Am I the idiot for not letting my wife take our kids to see her family? not the idiot. She's been no contact with them for a damn decade, and she thinks you are being unnecessarily pessimistic? Get ready to potentially need therapy for your kids when they return from visiting the idiots. Your wife should meet with them before potentially subjecting your kids to that. Maybe they've changed, but I wouldn't want to risk my kids hearing awful things from their grandparents. They haven't been interested in her life for 10 years, and then she gets an invite that's not even directly from them, but from the cousin. She hasn't been there in a while and should definitely find out if it's going to be a hostile or passive-aggressive environment before bringing children into the picture. It would be different if she went on her own first for a little scope out on whether they had indeed grown to accept her. My assumption is that if the dad is terminally ill, they want her around for support and money and are grit your teeth and bear it with the LGBT thing, which would lead to passive aggression and bitter comments. Your wife is picturing a Hallmark movie, while this reconciliation could be an episode of Jerry. You're right, she needs to verify this medically induced change of heart on her own first. You are the idiot. Regardless of your job, this might be the last time she and the kids can see her father while he's alive. If she wants to try and reconcile before he passes, that's her decision. And seeing family, even a toxic one, for one trip isn't going to harm the children unless it's a physical abuse situation, and you would think if it looked like it would turn into that she would take her and the kids and leave, right? So right now she needs your support, not another fight on another front.